they say since the pandemic, there's been a rise in people wanting to date people who care about the social causes they care about. So, for example, green dating or political and social causes. And they said women are less open to dating people with different political views than men.
Yeah.
That I've actually heard.
Yes.
I've heard from men that, and there was a story recently that somebody was actually, it was a story of Donald Trump's, one of his strategists,
Okay.
said that he has a hard time dating. And
Okay.
he's open to
Oh,
dating
yeah.
women who have an opposing point of view. But the second he's on a date and they find out
He's
who
Republican.
who
Yeah.
his boss was, he
Yeah.
wasn't just Republican. He
Yeah.
was
He was the
Donald
ultimate
Trump's
Republican.
campaign
Yeah.
guy. They immediately, he's like, I've had women leave right there and then.
Yeah.
Does that sound like, okay, now that there are lots of things happening in the world, do you think you could date somebody who saw things differently?
Okay. So, I mean, this is like, I mean, I hate to reflect back on the word that they chose, but it's a core value, right? And I'm not saying I can't date people that are different from me or have differing opinions than me. I think that's actually what makes life more interesting, is having a good like exchange with whoever you're dating. But I think there are some fundamental things where like we'll draw the line. Obviously, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, like misogyny, you name it. If they embody those things, or at least, and I've been on dates where I've challenged like, I've challenged some people. Oh, actually, there was someone that I had like matched with on a dating app. And this was during the whole like vaccine stuff with COVID. And he was like I don't know if you heard about the convoys. You heard about the convoys, right? Like the one. So basically, there were a bunch in Canada. There were a bunch of like truck drivers that were basically convoying across Canada because they were anti-vax for some reason.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And so this person was just like, oh, you're so gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. It's so, it would be such a shame if you were like it's such a shame that you say that you're vaccinated on your profile. Right. And I was just like, I'm curious to know why that's come up for you. And then he kept like saying something of being like, you're a sheep, you're this, you're that. And then just kept like saying all those things. And I was like,
the
all right.
keywords that I call
Yeah.
them, the buzzwords. Yeah.
The buzzwords. Yeah. And I just kept thinking like, these are just fundamental things that it's a non-negotiable. These are deal breakers. These are actual deal breakers. Like, I mean, sure, the wait staff thing that I said earlier, yes, also a deal breaker. But I think these are like fundamental life-changing things. If you actively vote for Donald Trump and we're dating, you are anti-women, period. It's plain and simple,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so for me, it's like, yeah, there is some truth to it. I think it's key for there to be some common ground in terms of political and social causes, because if you don't have those core values around people's identities, their rights, all of that, then what do you agree on? Otherwise it's not deep dating. There's no true intimacy, right? You're just dating for fun.
Yeah. And look, I do think there are pros and cons to this, right? I do think it's good in the sense that the world is very polarizing right now and people have extreme beliefs. And you got to know, like, do you want to be arguing about this all day?
Yes.
And trying to change somebody's like you said, core belief or core value when you probably can't anyway. So as somebody who used to date Republicans pre-Trump days, I just didn't ask. I didn't think of it as a thing. I now can't because I don't want to have these discussions. But I have no judgment towards that. But I also get the social cause thing. Like the world has become, there's so much tragedy in the world. it's hard to be with somebody who's like apathetic to that,
Yeah.
or
Or has no
apathetic to that.
sympathy
Yeah.
for genocide. I don't know. Like,
For anything,
yeah,
right? Any of the issues, whatever is important to you, but to have just indifference to everything,
it's apathy. It's
yeah,
just, yeah,
yeah, it's just not attractive. And especially for like, I get it, as like Gen Zers are even more socially aroused, and they are like a lot more activists.
yeah,
Um and so wanting to know that your person cares about something matters. Um, the con to me is uh, that because we are so polarized, I fear that this makes everybody just like stay in their lane or stay
mm,
with people in their lane, and we kind of get more segregated.
yeah,
Um, but it's really a result of the fact that people are at such extreme odds that there is
yeah.
no middle ground to play with.
No,
Um, and so I get it in that sense.
yeah.
You know, I understand why people would choose what they choose. It just kind of sucks in the sense when you think of a big picture and you go, is this making us more segregated? And when can we start having some kind of middle ground to work with?
Yeah, I think that the middle ground thing, it comes with like, you know, I think if you're able to have meaningful discussions with people without getting your egos in the way,
Mhm.
right? And that's the thing too. It's like I don't think I've ever told you the story. Have I ever told you that I went to go see Ben Shapiro like a while back?
No.
Oh, this is such a funny story. But basically, when I was going to UBC, there's something called the Free Speech Club. Okay, that they're all about free speech and blah. And so I went. Ironically, it was on Halloween. Okay. And so, you know me, I love Halloween. I always dress up for Halloween.
Mhm.
And so I wear the same Halloween costume to work every year because I don't have to think about it, which is I dress up as the devil.
Love it.
Okay. And so I went to this event, and the event invite said, dress up in your Halloween costume and we will give you a special treat. And I was like, awesome. Yeah, I can go straight from work. Show up in my devil costume. Everyone is wearing MAGA hats. Like everyone is wearing MAGA hats. Okay. And there in a devil costume and I'm getting daggers, like absolute eye daggers from all these people. And I realized it's because they thought I was making a political statement with my costume.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, why is everyone staring at me? And they're like, "Rithu, they think that you're like calling Ben Shapiro the devil or like something." And so, anyways, anyways, the whole point of me going, and this is like from my perspective, I'm liberal, very left, right? Um, and my perception was, let me go into this so I can see how the opposite end of the spectrum thinks in comparison to me. I'm curious to know where their values stand and why they believe what they believe so that I have some common ground to have a discussion. Right. And it was so, I felt like I was in like the twilight zone. It felt so weird to be there because, I was maybe one of, I don't know, 4 or 5 people of color, like
Wow.
in my section. And like, this is a huge auditorium that can fill like 2,000 something people. Right. And so it was just such a weird concept. And I think that like, i- you can have your differences with your partner. You can have different core values, but I think it's about maintaining a level of respect and also having discourse and being able to have a discussion respectfully with keeping your egos in check, where you can actually exchange ideas and maybe like compromise on some values, right?
Yeah, I think that's very, very key because you are never going to agree on every single thing in your life, but uh, how you can debate those issues, I think, is very important. I hope you guys enjoyed that video and check out our next one. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more amazing dating, love, and relationship advice from me and so many expert guests. Follow us on socials. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm Natasha Chandel, so you can find me too if you like. And join our newsletter on www.kindofdating.com for lots of exclusives. See you soon.